Heroes save the world. That's an easy one, right? But what happens when saving the world means losing everything that made them heroes in the first place? In more than 20 years of writing and studying fantasy stories, I've spent countless hours dissecting why fallen heroes leave such deep scars. And today, I'll show you how to create that gut-wrenching moment when your readers realize their favorite character just crossed a line they can never come back from. But to understand how to create these powerful moments, you first need to recognize what really makes readers connect with a fallen hero. Picture the most heartbreaking moment in your favorite game or fantasy series. I bet it wasn't when the villain revealed their evil plan. It was when a character you truly cared about made that one fatal choice that started their fall. Many beginning writers think creating a fallen hero means taking a good character and suddenly making them evil. But that's not what makes moments like Arthur's picking up Frostmourne in Warcraft, or Anakin turning to the dark side in Star Wars so devastating. These moments work because they feel both shocking and inevitable, like watching a friend make a terrible mistake in slow motion. The real power comes from something much more personal to your readers. Consider how many, myself included, felt watching Daenerys Targaryen's descent in Game of Thrones. Particularly how the bad writing of her final turn highlighted the importance of earned character development. The final season's accelerated pace meant we missed those crucial small steps that make a fallen hero's journey believable. Instead of gradual changes, we got a sudden shift that left many viewers feeling disconnected from a character they'd invested in for years. But this gradual progression, this slow erosion of boundaries, is what makes fallen heroes so compelling. It's not about creating a dramatic moment of transformation. It's about crafting a journey where each step feels natural, even necessary, until suddenly your readers realize they've been complicit in something terrible. Fallen heroes hit harder than so many other character types because readers see themselves in these characters. When done right, their descent feels deeply personal. We understand their gain, their frustration, their desire for justice. A properly executed fallen hero arc should leave readers thinking, under the right circumstances, could I do the same? But before we can make readers see themselves in our fallen heroes, we need to understand the crucial first step that so many writers miss, and it's all about timing. The biggest mistake I see many writers make with fallen heroes is that they rush to the fallen part before they've earned the hero part. Think about how long we spend with Arthur as the noble paladin in Warcraft 3 before he even considers questionable actions. The game takes its time showing us his dedication, his sense of justice, his love for his people. This isn't wasted time, it's investment building. Every quest he completes to protect his kingdom, every moment of kindness he shows, it's like putting money in an emotional bank account that will pay off later. The trust building phase is where you establish not just your character's virtues, but their specific type of goodness. Are they driven by justice like Arthur's, by love like Anakin, by a desire to protect the weak like Daenerys? These core motivations need to be so well established that readers can't imagine them ever being corrupted. That's what makes the eventual corruption so powerful. The secret is this: your fallen hero needs to embody a virtue that your readers admire before their fall. Raistlin Mayr, the ambitious and frail mage from the Dragonlance series, starts as someone fighting against physical weakness through dedication and intelligence, qualities readers respect. Your readers need to think, I want to be like this character, before they think, I'm afraid I am like this character. This admiration needs to be earned through concrete actions and choices that demonstrate their virtue. Show your heroes sacrificing personal comfort for others. Show them standing up against injustice when it would be easier to look away. Or show them being the kind of person your readers aspire to be. The higher you build them up, the more devastating their fall will be. Because when the fall begins, it will be these same admirable qualities, twisted by circumstance and desperation, that lead to their downfall. But once you've built that trust, you need to understand exactly how to break it in a way that feels both tragic and inevitable. Have you ever noticed how fallen heroes almost never turn evil because they want to? They fall because they're trying to do something good. When I analyze stories like Star Wars and Game of Thrones, I notice something fascinating. The best fallen heroes don't make one big bad choice, they make a series of small compromises that each made perfect sense at the time. Anakin doesn't wake up one day and decide to join the dark side. He starts by wanting to save his mother, then his wife, then the galaxy itself. Each step feels reasonable, even necessary, until suddenly he's on the dark side. This pattern of escalating compromises is crucial. Look at Walter White in Breaking Bad. While not a fantasy character, he's a perfect example of a well-executed fallen hero arc. He starts by making meth to provide for his family after his death, a noble goal. Then he continues to provide for the future, still understandable. Then it becomes about pride, about power, about empire. The goal shifts so gradually that both the character and the audience barely notice until it's too late. The key is understanding that each compromise should be slightly bigger than the last, but always connected to the character's core motivation. If your hero starts by breaking a minor rule to save one life, they might end by breaking a major moral boundary to save 1,000. The logic remains consistent. It's the scale and consequences that change. Here's a 3-step pattern I use. Start with a noble goal your readers understand completely. Then present an impossible situation where doing the right thing will fail to achieve that goal. Finally, offer a solution that works but crosses a line. Make that line small at first, something readers might even agree with. Then repeat this pattern with each new line being bigger than the last. This creates what I call the step-by-step tragedy, where readers understand every choice even as I watch it in horror. The genius of this approach is that it makes your readers complicit in the fall. They can't simply judge the character because they've agreed with each step along the way. They've rationalized each choice just as the character has. The power comes from making each choice both understandable and slightly wrong. Your hero shouldn't jump straight from saving orphans to burning down cities. Instead, they might start by lying to protect someone, then breaking a law to save lives, then committing violence for the greater good, until finally they're doing terrible things for what they still believe are the right reasons. But making these choices matter requires something else, something that makes the difference between a fallen hero and just a character who makes bad decisions. The most devastating thing about fallen heroes isn't what they gain in their fall, it's what they lose. And I don't mean the obvious things. In my first attempts at writing fallen heroes, I focused on the increasing power, the abilities they gained, the forces they commanded. But that's not what makes Raistlin's story in Dragonlance hurt. It's not even what makes Daenerys' fall tragic. The real gut punch comes from watching them lose something much more personal piece by piece, often without even realizing it. Look at how Arthas loses his compassion, the very quality that made him a great paladin. Watch how Anakin's love for Padme, the emotion that drove his fall, becomes twisted into possessiveness and fear. Observe how Daenerys' desire to protect the innocent slowly warps into a conviction that she alone can decide who deserves to live or die. Those losses should be gradual and subtle. Your character might gain power, influence, or abilities, but with each gain, they should lose a piece of their original self. The tragedy isn't just in what they become, it's in what they cease to be. The key technique that I've distilled for myself is parallel destruction. For every power your fallen hero gains, they need to lose something that originally made readers love them. Make your readers feel each loss. Make them want to yell, "It's not worth it," even as your character convinces themselves and the readers it is. The most powerful moment of a fallen hero often comes when your character achieves everything they thought they wanted, only to realize they've lost everything that made them want it in the first place. This balance of gain and loss creates the tragic irony that makes fallen hero stories so compelling. Your character should become more powerful even as they become less human, more successful even as they lose sight of their original goals, more accomplished even as they betray everything they once stood for. And this brings us to the most crucial question, one that will define how your readers remember your fallen hero long after they finish your story. Many writers get caught up asking whether their fallen hero should be redeemed. But that's approaching the ending from the wrong angle entirely in my experience. The real question isn't about redemption, it's about recognition and consequence. Consider how Darth Vader's redemption works not because he suddenly becomes good again, but because he finally recognizes what he lost. His final choice isn't about saving the galaxy, it's about saving his son, about reclaiming the love he thought he'd sacrificed for power. The power comes from recognition, not just reformation. The real question isn't does your fallen hero return to the light, but do they recognize what they've lost? Your ending needs to show your hero confronting the full weight of their choices, whether they ultimately turn back or not. This moment of recognition is what gives readers closure. Whether your fallen hero finds redemption or not should depend not on what makes the happiest ending, but on what would make their story most meaningful. Sometimes, the most powerful ending is one where they recognize their mistakes but choose to continue anyway. Sometimes it's one where they turn back but must still live with the consequences of their choices. The key is that they, and through them your readers, fully understand the price of their fall. But regardless of the possibility for redemption, if your fallen hero's relationships aren't properly set up, even the best planned tragedy will fall flat. So check out this video here next, where I walk you through the concept of the four corner opposition to ensure your fallen hero isn't developed in isolation.